Listen to me for a moment, man, because I know exactly what you're going through right now. You're dealing with the weight of a breakup, and you've decided to go no contact, hoping it will somehow help. But inside, your mind is racing. You keep checking your phone like it holds the answers, replaying the last conversation, analyzing every word she said, wondering if she's even thinking about you. You're caught in this emotional loop, feeling that powerful urge to reach out, just a simple message, a how are you, something to reconnect, to shift the narrative, to remind her of what you once had. And while that impulse might feel natural, even necessary, it's not the move. What you need to understand right now, more than anything, is that silence is not weakness. In fact, when it's rooted in strength and intention, silence becomes the most powerful response you can make after a breakup. It's not about being heartless. It's about reclaiming your control, your dignity, your peace, your energy. Silence isn't giving up. It's stopping the emotional hemorrhaging and starting the healing. It's the space where you stop reacting to someone else's choices and start rising into your own. Most men confuse silence with doing nothing, but silence, when used correctly, is a decision. It's discipline. It's power. It's you refusing to give more of yourself to someone who already let go. And whether she realizes it immediately or not, that silence shifts the energy. She will feel it eventually. She will wonder, but more importantly, you will grow. So in this video, I'm breaking down the real psychology of why ignoring your ex works, not as a trick or a way to get her back, but as a path to getting yourself back. This is about masculine clarity, not manipulation. No games, no begging, just raw, grounded strength. Let's get into it. Point 1. Your silence breaks the pattern she expected. And this is bigger than you think. After a breakup, most women, consciously or unconsciously, expect a certain response. They expect you to react, to reach out, to beg, plead, or at least try to explain yourself. Why? Because that's the cycle they've seen before. That's how most men respond when their heart's been broken. They blow up her phone. They try to reason. They pour out their emotions in a last-ditch effort to change her mind or soften her stance. And the truth is, she was probably counting on that. Not because she's cruel, but because it reinforces the idea that she was the one in control, that she held the power. So when you do the exact opposite, when you go completely, unapologetically silent, it disrupts her entire emotional rhythm. That silence becomes deafening. It doesn't scream neediness or desperation. It speaks volumes without saying a word. It says you're not playing the game. You're not following the script. And that stillness, it messes with her. Because suddenly, the attention she assumed she could count on, it's gone. The control she thought she had over your emotions, it's slipping. You're not giving her what she expected. You're not giving her the comfort of being chased. You're not feeding her ego, stroking her certainty, or reaffirming her role in the story. And that shift, that unexpected detachment, it shakes her. It makes her question everything. She wanted to be the one in control of how the story ended, but your silence flips the narrative. It's not about hurting her. It's about taking yourself out of the emotional loop and refusing to be predictable. Silence breaks the cycle. It stops the chase. And in that space, she starts to feel the absence and the weight of her own decisions like never before. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. Point 2. You stop being her emotional crutch, and this part is crucial. See, what a lot of men don't realize is that even after a woman ends the relationship, she often still expects access to your emotional availability. Not necessarily because she wants to get back together, but because she wants the comfort. She wants the reassurance that you're still there, still orbiting around her emotionally, still giving her that familiar sense of validation when she's feeling uncertain, lonely, or vulnerable. It's not romantic, it's self-soothing for her. And if you allow that, if you leave the door cracked open and respond every time she checks in, all you're doing is softening her landing while prolonging your own pain. You're keeping her emotionally comfortable while you stay stuck in the exact same place, trying to make sense of it all. You're healing her by hurting yourself. But when you go silent, truly silent, and cut off that emotional supply, the entire dynamic changes. She doesn't get to fall back into your presence like a safety net. She doesn't get to treat you like emotional training wheels while she figures out her next move. She has to face the full weight of what she walked away from. And yeah, it may feel harsh in the beginning. You may feel like you're being cold, especially if you still care about her. But here's the truth. You're not being cruel. You're being clear. Because every time you respond to those late night "I miss us" texts or give her that little bit of comfort, you're sending the message that she can have the benefits of you without the commitment to you. And that's not love, that's emotional convenience. You're not her therapist, you're not her fallback plan, you're not the emotional safety blanket she can wrap herself in when it gets uncomfortable. You are her man, and if she made the decision to walk away from that, then she should feel what that actually means. Your silence becomes the boundary that forces her to sit with the consequences of her choice. No more emotional cushions, no more easy access, just the reality of absence. And that's when the gravity of the breakup starts to set in, not just for her, but for you too. Because now, you're not stuck trying to soothe her through something she created. You're finally giving yourself the space to grieve, to rebuild, to rise. Your silence is no longer just a strategy, it's a statement. You chose to leave. Now you live with it, without me. Point 3. Silence exposes who was actually invested, and this is where the mask starts to slip. Most people don't talk about this part because it's uncomfortable, but silence doesn't just protect your pride. It unveils the truth that words and actions often try to hide. See, when you step back and remove yourself from the emotional equation, when you stop texting, stop calling, stop checking in, you're not just creating distance, you're revealing reality. You want to know who truly cared? Watch what they do in your absence. If she can go days, weeks, or even months without so much as a "how are you," without checking in, without asking, without even showing curiosity about your life, then let that sink in. You didn't lose someone who loved you. You lost someone who loved what you gave her. Your support, your attention, your consistency. That's what she was attached to, not necessarily you. And yeah, that truth cuts deep. It stings, but it's still better than living in a fantasy where you keep imagining love that wasn't mutual. Now flip the coin. If your silence starts stirring the waters, if she starts creeping back in with subtle texts, liking your posts, watching your stories religiously, then you know something shifted. That space you created, it's echoing inside her. It's making her feel the loss. That's the beauty of doing absolutely nothing. Silence forces the emotional cards onto the table. You're not asking questions, but you're getting answers, real ones. You don't need to beg, to guess, or to decode mixed signals. Just step back, and the truth rises on its own. That's why silence is more than just a boundary, it's a mirror. It reflects what was hidden. It shows you who was invested and who was just comfortable. And that revelation, that's your clarity, that's your closure. Because once you see who is pretending and who is present, you stop romanticizing the past and start seeing it for what it really was. Silence doesn't lie. It just waits, and then it reveals. Point 4. Your energy shifts when you stop chasing, and this is where everything starts to change, not just on the outside, but deep within you. Let's be real. The moment you stop chasing her, the second you stop running after something that no longer serves you, your entire frequency shifts. And I'm not just talking about ignoring her texts or staying off her social media. I'm talking about a soul-level recalibration, a complete internal reset. You stop reaching outward for validation and start turning that energy inward to rebuild what was always yours to begin with. Your focus, your self-worth, your fire. See, chasing drains you. It pulls your attention away from your purpose and keeps you stuck in a loop of trying to win someone over who already walked away. But the second you cut that off, when you truly stop giving your power to someone who didn't value it, you begin to reclaim the version of yourself that was never meant to beg. You start waking up differently. You walk with intention. You eat better, think clearer, train harder, move smarter. Your posture improves, your voice steadies, your energy becomes undeniable. And here's the part that might shock you. She'll feel it. Even if you're blocked, even if you haven't spoken in months, energy doesn't need a direct line. It radiates. When you stop chasing her, when your heart detaches and your spirit levels up, that shift sends ripples. People feel when they're no longer being pursued. They notice when the eyes that used to be on them are now focused inward, building something stronger, deeper, and unshakable. You stop being a man who waits in hope and start becoming a man who moves in silence, a man who doesn't explain his growth. He just becomes undeniable. You don't post it for her to see. You don't hint at it. You just live it. And that absence, that sudden vacuum of energy she once depended on, it speaks louder than any message ever could. Because now, you're no longer trying to prove your worth to someone who chose to walk away. You're busy becoming someone even she wouldn't recognize if she looked back. This isn't about revenge. It's not about making her miss you. It's about evolving so completely that you no longer even need the closure, because you've already outgrown the version of yourself that needed her approval. So don't waste another drop of energy trying to be understood or appreciated by someone who couldn't see your value when it mattered. Pour that energy back into yourself. That's how you become unforgettable. Not because you chased her, but because you stopped and rose. Point 5. Ignoring her isn't about punishment. It's about power. And more importantly, self-respect. Let's get something straight right now, because a lot of men get this twisted. Silence isn't a weapon for revenge. It's not some manipulative strategy where you go ghost, hoping she comes crawling back on her knees. That kind of mindset, that's not strength. That's insecurity in disguise. Real silence, the kind that matters, the kind that transforms you. It's not rooted in bitterness, it's rooted in boundaries. Silence is not you punishing her, it's you finally protecting yourself. Because when someone walks away from you, especially if they disrespected you, overlooked you, or tried to make you feel like you were less than, the most powerful move isn't fighting back with words. It's not explaining your worth. It's not proving anything. It's disappearing from their access. You stop offering the emotional connection. You stop showing up where you're not valued. You retreat, not because you're weak, but because you finally realized your time, your energy, your peace, your love. Those are luxuries, not guarantees. And here's the thing. People can take those luxuries for granted when they think they'll never lose them. But silence reminds them they don't have a permanent seat in your life. It says, you made your choice. Now you have to live without the version of me who loved you. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. That's self-respect. You don't yell. You don't send paragraphs. You don't chase answers. You just withdraw, and that absence speaks in volumes only the soul can hear. And guess what happens when you move with that kind of inner peace and solidness? People notice. She notices. Not because you're trying to teach her a lesson, but because you're moving differently now. You're no longer a man seeking validation. You've become a man who knows exactly what he brings to the table. And that energy is magnetic. It shifts the entire dynamic. Suddenly, you're not in the position of being left. You're in the position of choosing not to return. You're not doing this to make her feel your absence. You're doing it to finally feel your own presence. This isn't about silence for the sake of getting her attention. It's silence so you can reclaim your own. Point 6. In your absence, she remembers the real you. This is where it shifts. This is where the silence stops being about her and starts becoming about you. Because let's be honest, when you first go silent, your thoughts are still wrapped around her. You're hoping the space makes her miss you. You're wondering if she'll notice, if she'll reach out, if maybe, just maybe, she'll come back. And that's okay, that's human, but that's also temporary. Because the longer you stay silent, the more your focus starts to shift. At first, you're resisting the urge to call. You're fighting the habit of checking her social media, rereading old text, replaying memories like a broken record. But eventually, if you stay true to the silence, it all starts to fade. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're evolving. The obsession starts turning into discipline. The pain starts turning into purpose. You start showing up for you in the gym, in your mind, in your habits. You start walking taller. You start dressing better, thinking sharper, moving like a man with vision, not a man stuck in the past. And that's when something wild happens. You remember who you were before you needed her. Or maybe, more powerfully, you become someone you never were when you were with her. You stop chasing closure. You stop fantasizing about the what ifs. You stop needing her to see your worth because you see it now. And when that clarity sets in, you finally realize maybe she was never the one. Maybe you were just afraid to outgrow the version of you that needed her. And now, she couldn't even stand beside the man you're becoming. That's the real win. Not getting her back, but getting you back. And whether she returns or not becomes irrelevant because you've already outgrown the person who waited. You've already evolved beyond the version of you who begged, who chased, who doubted. You're not living for her validation anymore. You're building in silence, thriving in solitude, rising in your own light. And that is the kind of man she'll never forget. Not because you tried to be remembered, but because you became unforgettable. So if you're still asking, does silence work? You're asking the wrong question. It works, yes, but only when you stop using it as bait and start using it as a blueprint for growth. When you stop being silent for her and start being silent for you. Because the man who doesn't need to be heard, he becomes the man they can't stop thinking about. He becomes the man they come looking for long after he stopped looking back. Use your silence wisely. Use it to rise, not to wait, because the man who rises quietly, powerfully, unapologetically becomes a storm no one saw coming. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way. So stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.